all in the aim of sharing knowledge, right? That's what this big bad internet's so good for. Guess we live in a different world. It still doesn't protect us, despite all we talk and that the systems in play. They operate so corruptly in just broad daylight. Sorry about some of the stops and stalls in these videos. I don't really work off scripts. It's just me emptying my mind occasionally. Put them on YouTube, and I guess it's to share what I've been through with people out there, so you get some idea what to expect. You know, there's a fight involved with everything, even if you're right. I don't know, the whole ordeal with the police, and it's taken forever to end up getting the public prosecution's response on the WorkSafe matters, but that's not a matter of public concern according to the public prosecutor, but that's a whole other story. I don't really, Brendan Cassan's a fine example of what we get from the legal bar and the legal system. Somehow, companies are allowed to do whatever they want. We have all these laws that say we'll punish them, but we don't use them. And then on the other hand, we've got police who have a whole bunch of laws to punish you when you haven't done anything wrong or you haven't hurt anyone. So with all the things you'll get sent to police internal affairs, and if you're unhappy with them, you can go to IBAC. I went straight to IBAC because my matters directly involved the police themselves, not their handling of a matter, just an officer himself. IBAC hid behind their magical policy, which is written into their thing. I read that beforehand, and it's infuriating that they can use this. They basically, even if it falls in their jurisdiction, they see something wrong, they don't have to do anything. It says they can make the decision to do absolutely nothing. Now, if you've got an anti-corruption board that has the right to make that decision, what if the board's corrupt and decide to always make that decision? I have questions for IBAC in regard to how many complaints they receive, how many they dismiss, and how many they use this piss-poor excuse of a loophole for. If you're unhappy with that, you can always go to the Vic Inspectorate, right? I'd already read this a while back. I knew it'd be a big waste of time. I didn't think it'd be as big a waste of time as what it is. They chronographed the events I sent in, which, they were already sort of chronographed anyway, and then came up with excuses as to sort of defend IBAC, but then at the same time, the only answer they had was IBAC were within their right to use their thing to choose to do nothing, and I posted that on Facebook. But no doubt I can complain to the Vic Inspectorate, and their response was quite amusing, because they have the same clause in their policies and the legislation relating to their operation. So they have chosen, without having to provide reason, to do nothing about the matter, and they have the right to, even if it falls in their jurisdiction. So what I would ask you is, how do we fix any of the problems we have with the police if the whole system in play is just there to back itself up to do nothing? Still want to talk to Jill Hennessy, but she's been avoiding me, and I've only ever received replies from staffers. Pretty sad and weak effort from our Attorney General. As for our Governor, she's utterly useless, but I think most people realise that she's a puppet. She's not there to do anything, not to protect the people, or else half of what's been going on in Victoria over the last 2 years would not be going on, unfortunately. Obviously, everything's very hard to deal with all of this, with the police up your ass trying to get you in court so they can delete the evidence. And nobody seems to want to get that evidence off of them. It leaves me in a really rough position, because as far as it goes, the way I'm looking at it is, a police officer can just make up things, make up false statements, then take that all the way to court, and instead of reneging before court, take that to court and trial, with the risk of putting false charges against someone. Now, if the magistrate, that's the one thing he corrected, had paid attention on the rest of it, it questions the officer's integrity that he made a bunch of shit up just to add weight to his charges. And the prosecutor himself, that puts him even more liable. That's Michael Cook, everyone knows I'm very fond of him. He had every opportunity before this to withdraw the false charges. He took them there with an effort to try and prosecute them and get me sentenced for something I didn't do. Now, in the fumblings and bumblings of Pradeep Pai, because the guy's a total fucking idiot and a liar, the magistrate saw straight through it. And then the magistrate, this makes it worse again. So where does the chain of responsibility begin here, huh? The magistrate chooses to strike it from the records. So now you get stuck in a limbo, like in my case, where the record, any that I take, are for my reference so that I can keep up with the proceedings in court, given I'm by myself versus a team of 3 police prosecutors. For a small court case, yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Don't know, these are the results of standing up for yourself, right? This is what actually happens. And then when you look for a lawyer to defend you because you were trying to defend yourself, you have proof of a police officer lying, proof of a judge assisting the police, and they also, it's conflict of interest. They don't want to deal with it. You know why? Because it'll affect their ability to become a judge later and get a pay packet for making corrupt decisions. I don't know, it's just, I'm like 42 years old, my whole life, right? I've had various struggles. I had 2 strokes when I was like 15, 16. I had to learn how to walk again. Now, I appreciate that life's important and beautiful, and sometimes you got to wonder what the purpose of it is, especially when it gets so messy. But I don't think it's to sit here and be put in shitty, pissy arguments over anything and everything when people have done nothing wrong. Like, always bear in mind with this, I didn't hurt anyone, break anything, damage anything, cause any loss to anyone, and all this action's taken against me. Yet, we have a system where my employer had a milk crate there. I'd been arguing with my boss for like the whole 3 months back returning there. And I get told I'm being pedantic and fussy, and I end up falling off the fucking milk crate, smashing my head, ending up with permanent ringing in my ears. But, there's nothing wrong with that. And then 3 years later, I can send WorkSafe out there with a list of stuff, and WorkSafe find all of that there. It was the company were endemic. Systematic. They just didn't care. They didn't want to fix anything. And now you get WorkSafe just constantly, we don't like to prosecute. It's a waste of time. It's this, it's that, it's the other. Where was that when you were prosecuting me for asking a police officer a question? I asked him what the reading was. Now, that's a very reasonable question, especially given at the period. Police were under question for falsifying readings, falsifying tests and everything just to meet their quotas that they had. Yet they act like this is all normal. There's missing video from them and everything. Video would confirm how long I was talking with him. It shouldn't be that hard. If they've got a reading, they provide it because they need to provide justification, but at the risk of sounding like a broken record. This was very simple, yet it turned into, for me, 5 to 6 years of my life being consumed by utter, total bullshit. These people have nothing better to do. In the meantime, though, I've still managed to do my charity work for the community and help out, stuff that I do myself, and try and keep my business operating. All while these lazy plods float around in cars harassing people. 6 of them to come around and harass a woman and some kids because they think I might be here. On what whim? I've had to live totally off the whole system. It's all gone. There's me looking after myself now. And then they want to go around and harass other people thinking that, they're going to be able to play games and accuse me of playing games. Hand over the evidence. It's like I'd say to the courts, stop saying that people have to pay you for the records of court. The court chooses to take us to court. They need to provide all the records. If after court, whatever the decision I say, I want the records of court, they should be provided to me because they're for my records. You dragged someone through a process of bullshit. You owe them the record of what's happened. And in the case of this, I don't have a record of the no seatbelt fine being not guilty. They struck it from the record so they don't have to put a not guilty. That was a not guilty because you brought a false charge there. You can't win a false charge, and Pradeep proved that fumbling away. The whole system is basically set up to protect those at the top. Nothing will ever happen to them. Some patsy down the line will cop it, but in ways many of these people deserve it because what they're doing is covering up. Covering up and, not questioning. If you stop using this, that's when you start doing harm. That's when that third part of the law, what they're trying to get you for drink driving with. You got a reading, you could hurt someone. No, it's that. If you make the wrong decision, if you don't follow your conscience, you cause harm. Now, where's the liability in that? They don't want it. That's just it. They all take these big positions. They all sit there saying they're in charge. They know what they're doing. They're going to make everything better. Yet, the big problem is they don't want to take any responsibility for what's going on. Something bad like Jill Hennessy, what I've pointed out to her. She don't want to look at that, keep saying it's not to do with her. It's to do with legislation, how the legislation is applied by the courts and the police. Now that is important, and that is well within her area as she is the state's Attorney General. And the sad bit is this has been 2 terms of election, near enough, of speaking to these half-wits. And all you get is responses back from the numbnuts they've got in their departments. That's not good enough. Now, people need to start, like I've said before, think about this. This is the future of your kids here. This is important. I know it's hard, it's boring, it's politics, And, I'd rather just get drunk on the weekend and not think about it. But seriously, this is one day going to bite you in the ass. It already is biting on your ass, you just don't know it. That's the problem with most parasites. You don't realise they're there. You ever go wandering through a swamp and get a leech on you, you'll find that out, right? You don't know they're there until you find them, and then it's like, how the hell was that thing living off me for that long without even me noticing? Yeah. Take some thought on this. I don't put these videos up for my ego or anything. I see a serious problem, and one of my first main jobs, I chose the option of being a union rep over a manager. And I did that because I wanted to help the people I worked with. I like the guys I worked with. I like the community I live in. I only want to help it, I don't want to harm it. And I wish I could say the same for most of the authorities, the politicians. I don't know, living in Victoria, if you're a normal human being, this is an opportunity to see the world for what it is with the curtain pulled off. This is what it's really about. We live in a democracy, but this is more like communist China. I've got friends from China that love China, but I don't understand how you could love something that just controls and dictates over you. Now I've said it before, that's not why we're here. Start thinking about why you're here. We've all got a purpose. It's not necessarily to be a hero or a leader or anything like that. It might just be to be part of the whole thing that makes the difference. Stand up for yourself. Don't just be a sheep. Don't walk off the cliff because someone told you to. It's funny. It was the wise cop that said that expression. And yet, I'm watching society do it en masse. Look after yourselves. Be safe. And, beware. The system could always turn on you too. For any reason. It'll let you down. Or turn on you one way or the other. I'm lucky I get both. I always get the full experience of life. But, can't complain at that. I still keep a happy tendency, apart from these videos, but these videos don't give a whole lot of the person. It's just, dealing with this. I wouldn't want to talk to me when I'm on this path. This stuff really, too much. Way too much. It's wrong. And you'd never think that our world would operate this way and they could get away with it. And then the apathy that when they do this, people go, oh, but that's just the system. Well, the system's broken, why aren't we changing it? Simple. Be good. Be safe. No, look out for yourselves. Bye.